What's going on, Team Sztanyo? How's it going? Happy Sunday evening. Who day? Bengals get a win. Got my Jamar Chase Super Tecmo Bowl shirt on. If you can't see it, it says that he's awesome and his abilities are 100 and everything. Like Bo Jackson and Barry Sanders in that amazing game. The Bengals win. We still got a chance at the playoffs, right? We'll talk maybe a little bit more about that if you guys want to talk some Bengals here. But beyond that, we're going to talk about growth in Northern Kentucky. We're going to talk about jobs in Northern Kentucky. And what does that mean economically? What does that mean from a housing standpoint? Because there's a lot of demand that needs to be filled as Northern Kentucky continues to grow. But I hope you're having a good day. As always, be sure to jump in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from. If you have any questions about what's going on, not only in Northern Kentucky, but all of Cincinnati, especially as it pertains to real estate, would love to answer those for you guys as we move along here in our Team Sztanyo live tonight. So thanks for joining in. Again, happy Sunday. Big Bengals win here. We're heading up on Christmas. Had an amazing Christmas this morning with my church. We do some home church down in Southern Campbell County. So there's a bunch of families packed into a living room, and we had this incredible experience today. I was actually leading today and kind of going through some stuff and telling about the story and things like that. And then we get a knock at the door, and I look outside my friend's door, and and there's like 60 of us in this living room, and I see a large man in a red suit. And no lie, we open the door, and there's a living and breathing Santa Claus at the door. We're all the adults are kind of looking around like, did you invite this person? Do you know what's going on? Should we let this Santa Claus like into the room? And all the kids were like, oh, what is happening right now? It was he was at the wrong house, which was hilarious. He was like, is the homeowner went over there, and he was like, is this blah 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 Jones Street? And we're like, no, you got the wrong house. But it was just a pretty hysterical moment where this Santa Claus popped into this living room church environment and then was like, Jesus is the reason for the season. It was a memorable moment for sure. So, okay. So beyond that, it's been an awesome day. The Bengals with him, his podcast this week. And I asked him, or I guess it was last week. I said, what is the worst possible scenario for a Bengals fan? And he mentioned like winning, but the defense not being good. I think it's worse than that. I think the worst possible scenario for a Bengals fan right now is they win this game, they win the next game, they win the next game. What do we have left? Four games left or 3 games? I think 3 games left. So we are 6-8 now. So I think we got 3 games left. I say you win the next 2, and Miami and Broncos continue to lose the way you need them to lose. And Indianapolis, you need a lot of things to happen. And then we play Pittsburgh on the final game of the year. Pittsburgh decides to sit their starters for that game. And in some spectacular fashion, we end up losing that game where if we won, we would go to the playoffs. And it has something to do with Joey Porter Jr. And if you are a longtime Bengals fan, you would understand that reference from 2015, the meltdown in Paul Brown. I think that would be the most heart-wrenching thing, where we have the worst draft spot position possible. We're this close to making the playoffs, and we lose to the Steelers like that. That if I were to draw it up, I think that would be the worst case scenario. All right, let's talk about growth. Let's talk about what's going on here. Let me pull this up real quick. So we had our kids' schools end of semester parent night this week. It was awesome, good time. The kids were doing their recitations, and they're doing Latin and literature, and they had songs and dances, and it was super cute. We had all that, and then after that, we decided, you know what? Let's go over to Chick-fil-A. Let's celebrate with a little ice cream cone. And we got some friends over there, went over to Chick-fil-A on Mall Road in Florence, Kentucky. Awesome evening, awesome night, loved it. And then I woke up Saturday morning to catch up on some news. And I had heard about this from someone else, insider track about this. But a huge announcement here that's coming to Northern Kentucky is that Chick-fil-A is announcing a $100 million investment in Northern Kentucky. This is happening in Ellesmere, kind of just east of the airport. They're going to be creating 178 new full-time jobs. So the center is going to be supporting 150 regional Chick-fil-A restaurants. So it's a distribution center here in Ellesmere, Kentucky. And one of the reasons why we got this here in Ellesmere, why we won here based on a lot of different places is, yes, the airport, but also the rail that we have here locally. And so I've read through this article, but Chick-fil-A said that, you know, they bring in their largest materials, like here's right here. The company casts a wide net searching for an ideal location for the distribution center. Its specific requirements for the facility, including nearby trucking lines, proximity to a major metropolitan market, and rail line access, because Chick-fil-A brings in some of its highest volume items on trains, potatoes from the Pacific Northwest. So if you look down at this, actually, I don't see it here on the map. Let me pull this up real quick, because I was like, where is this exactly? I was trying to find it. And if I'm looking at Google Map overview for Ellesmere, I'm going to guess, let me open this in maps. I'm like looking at the location. Let's look at the satellite view. I'm like, where is this happening? Where is this happening in Ellesmere? And then I see this giant developed location right here. I'm going to say that's it right there. Probably where they're developing. But as I look closer here, what you have is rail. And I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe this is not the right development. I could be wrong on that. But the rail line goes right through Ellesmere, Kentucky. So you're bringing in a lot of potatoes from the Northwest. And so that's just one win here in Northern Kentucky that I wanted to mention. But let me go through a couple more, because they're pretty rapid fire here. L2 Aviation is going to add hundreds of jobs at the CVG airport. So this is a company that works on aircrafts. They've been doing it at the airport, but now they're going to invest $12 million into facility renovations. Kentucky's offered a $3.5 million in tax incentives for the expansion. So now they're going to be bringing in aircraft to their warehouse, to their location. So 178 jobs from Chick-fil-A from their investment. And then this is says that they're going to be adding 250 jobs at the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport in an existing facility it will renovate for its need. If we're keeping track here, that's 250 plus 178 is what? 428 new jobs just from two companies alone. That's pretty major, guys. That's a lot of jobs coming into town. I like that. Let's keep it rolling. So we've got Chick-fil-A. We've got L2 Aviation. Up next, Publix announces its 5th Northern Kentucky store location in a local shopping center. So if you've been keeping track on this, Publix is going in just south of Triple Crown in kind of Union, Walton, Kentucky. They're going into Independence. They're going into Alexandria. And now they're announcing a new store in Hebron. So the store will be 50,000 square feet, and it's going to employ 140. Okay, I need a calculator. All right, so we are now, you guys can't see this, but that's okay. 250 plus 178 plus 140. We are up to 568 new jobs here in Northern Kentucky, just at this store. Publix ranked 5th in the 2023 U.S. grocery market share. So this is coming in. They are fresh on the heels. So the big news of the week was Kroger and Albertsons did not go through with this merger. So and immediately Kroger launched a $7.5 billion share buyback. So this would have made Kroger and Albertsons, basically it was shut down due to antitrust rulings. And I don't pretend to know all the details of the legal status of this, but essentially it was shut down due to antitrust rulings, and Albertsons sued Kroger earlier saying you breached contract, you didn't try to make this work out. Kroger's like, yeah, whatever. And but they basically immediately launched this buyback. And then I saw that they like the next day unveiled a $39 million marketplace in northern Cincinnati suburb. This is going up near Hamilton Township in Rivers Bend. So they're like, well, we're going to take some of that money. We're going to invest it back in the community and make our own stores again. So they had that going, and that was it's going to be 123,000 square foot. So what's the point I'm trying to say here is there are a lot of jobs coming in. Okay. So I mentioned Publix. This is going into Hebron. Let me see if I can get this larger on the map for you guys so you know where this is at. So just north of 275 here. Is that? Yes. Okay. Jason, Publix liquor stores at the shops at Hebron's Point in Hebron. Is that where that is? Let me do this. Shops. I think it's actually on the east side. Shops at Hebron Point. Whoa. Let me get that again. Well, if it's here, then it's right across the street. Okay. I'm confused. Sorry. I got you. I was thinking of somewhere else. I was thinking right up here by the Hebron Grill and Gap Factory, but it's actually going to be on the other side off of the Graves Road exit right here as Publix is going in. Okay. Very interesting. So, Hebron, by the way, I've been mentioning this a little bit, and I've been talking a little bit about homes. Now, this neighborhood up here, Thornwild and Treetops, this has been here for a little while. I've done multiple homes over here at Rivers Point, which I think is a beautiful community and continues to be developed out by John Tobin and Justin Doyle Homes and Drees Homes and Traditions Group over here. On this ridge, and then on the other side of this ridge is beautiful. You got these homes overlooking Ohio River, and stay tuned from Team Sztanyo. We may have a listing coming up there. By the way, if you are someone who's looking for spectacular views of the Ohio River and a really high-end neighborhood, I've got a listing coming up over here. Also, you're going to be about 10-15 minutes from CVG Airport. So over in Hebron, where this new Publix is going in. So all that to say, a lot of growth going in Northern Kentucky. Publix is going in. There's another one. Camco Chemical buys a former IRS facility. They're planning a $4 million conversion. And this is going in Northern Kentucky as well. This is happening on the 18-acre property in Florence. $4 million renovation. Let's see if they got a jobs number for me. Don't see that. Just says that they're renovating there. So I'm not sure on new jobs. All of this to say, a lot is going on here in Northern Kentucky. And so what I want to spend the majority of our time here talking about is, what does that mean for growth? What does that mean for housing? What does that mean for demand? What does that mean for affordable housing? So let's talk about that in terms of Northern Kentucky. I mean, there's also a lot of growth happening on the Cincinnati side. I just noticed this week in particular, I just saw rapid fire, a lot of new announcements here of investment and jobs coming kind of in and around CVG and the Northern Kentucky Airport. And so I wanted to talk about what that meant for housing specifically. And what does that mean for you? And what does that mean for a community in particular? You know, Bengals just played Titans. I went to college in Nashville back kind of before it blew up from a housing standpoint. Back in 1999 through 2003. And Nashville was cool then, but it wasn't like what it is today, like where everyone goes there for every bachelorette party and tons of growth and tons of appreciation on housing. And people who live there don't like the new people who've moved in. A lot of Californians moved there, et cetera, et cetera. And so just interesting. I'm not saying Cincinnati is there yet. I don't know if Cincinnati will ever get there. You know, from a huge boom town, it could certainly happen. I could see it. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but I would say like the conversation around what does it mean for your city to grow? What does it mean for new people to move into a city? Do you want that? Do you not want that? And I think it's interesting to have. And this article we're going to dig into starts talking about that. So I'm interested, as you guys, again, as you're following along here and watching on the video, let me know your thoughts in the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments section. Okay, the race to fix Northern Kentucky's housing gaps. Strong job creation has resulted in demand for affordable homes far outpacing supply. So just to recap, this is just in the last few weeks, but Chick-fil-A, $100 million investment, L2, they said 250 jobs, Publix, 5 new homes coming in, competing with Kroger, another $4 million investment. So what does that mean here locally? All right. Chris Reinersman, I'm going to read this story here written by Brian Planout, the staff reporter at the Cincinnati Business Courier. Chris Reinersman sat in the living room of an Independence home over the summer to make the case he had been making for months. The atmosphere was tense and crowded, but as he spoke, people listened. The proposal from Fisher Homes for 110 new condominiums off of off 2-lane Madison Pike surfaced in February before a city planning commission that would eventually vote against it. Reinersman, the city's mayor and private real estate appraiser, argued for the proposal in a March city council meeting and faced significant public pushback. Let me go ahead and make this full screen here. Independence is one of the fastest growing cities in northern Kentucky. It hasn't gone unnoticed among longtime residents. Sign appears across the city before the March meeting, encouraging people to attend and speak, and speak against the Madison Pike project. Another room, tense and crowded with opinions. Those who spoke described a place where residential density doesn't belong and whose growth is outpacing its traffic grid. Okay, so we see this a lot, right? Where there's growth, there's new jobs, things are being developed, and the current residents are like, I don't want it. Too many cars, too much traffic. It's changing everything about my town. I don't like it. Everyone, you can go somewhere else. And there's reason why people would say that. I get it. Like, if you like your town, you like the way you grew up, you don't want a lot of people moving in. I get it. At the same time, there's growth and development. So let's continue on in this story here. We're at the heart of Kenton County and our heart is getting congested, said one resident. That's a good line. Another citing traffic concerns warned of Independence suddenly becoming Los Angeles. Okay. I think, I like the line about Kenton County getting a little congested. Okay. The arteries are getting congested. I think that's a good metaphor. The concern, if you guys ever watch Parks and Rec, I think this next line would fit well for Parks and Rec, right? That Independence, Kentucky suddenly becoming Los Angeles, I think is a little bit of a stretch. Okay. Congested arteries and traffic, I can accept that. Independence, Kentucky becoming Los Angeles, I think we're a few years away from that. I think we're just a few years away from that happening. Okay. Months later, in that Independence living room, Reinersman patiently pressed his points again. Development costs were too high to support a single-family subdivision. In any case, the land was already zoned for multifamily. At least the Fisher Homes project needed city approval, which gave the city some control over the outcome. If it failed to move forward, another developer likely wouldn't create owner-occupied condos, but 3-story apartments. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so here's the play from the city mayor, right? It's like, hey, we need housing. We can have condos that people own, and maybe they'll probably take care of them a little bit more, or we can do apartments, 3-story apartments. Okay, so there's the play from Chris Reinersman, the mayor of Independence. Not exactly a blow for progress as arguments go. Nice line there, Brian. But it won the people in the room. And months later, the development advanced through city council without a detractor in sight. So big, bad, scary apartments, that might change people's mindsets there. But let's keep digging in here. There's more here. Education. That's my watchword on these things. Reinersman said. There were a lot of changed minds in that living room. Well done. We can't be afraid to get out in front of the torches and the pitchforks. That's good leadership. I applaud that. Reinersman recalled the story at a November event, updating local officials and business leaders on the progress of the Northern Kentucky Area Development District's housing study. The 280-page report released last September found the 8-county, I'll bring this over here. The 8-county region's job creation is outpacing its housing availability, an unsurprising result to any who've tried their luck on Zillow in the last 2 years. So I want to say that again, kind of what we just saw to kind of start the show. The region's job creation is outpacing its housing availability. Okay. That's our theme for tonight. Region's job creation is outpacing the housing availability. So what does that mean for you as a renter or as a homeowner or as a business owner, or, what does that mean? That's what we're going to talk about. But there is growth happening here in Northern Kentucky. Speakers at the event drove home the largest point. I got some notes from this from my contact at Clearsight Homes. Housing is a workforce issue, and Northern Kentucky, despite a run of good form, is in danger of suffocating its own growth. If we don't make these hard decisions, Northern Kentucky is not going to be a place you want to live, Brian Miller, Executive Vice President of the Building Industry Association of Northern Kentucky, said at the housing event. It's going to be a good thing we have great airfare because you're going to be getting on a plane to see your grandchildren someday. I mean, there's some good one-liners here, right? I'm not a politician. I don't think I ever will be, but I will. And I'm not a copywriter, as you guys know, from these hour-long videos that drone on and on. But I will say that's another good line. It's going to be a good thing we have great airfare, because you're gonna be getting on a plane to see your grandchildren one day. I mean, it's a good line. All right. If you want to strike the fear into the people. Okay. The housing study showed Northern Kentucky needs to create 6,650 additional residential units beyond what's currently in the pipeline to support continued economic growth through 2028. Going to pause again right there. So this report said 6,650 new residential units are needed. That's a lot of units, people. That, not going to lie, that's a lot of units. All right, let's keep going in. It also showed the region's existing housing market is significantly misaligned with respect to income and housing typology. Northern Kentucky does a good job of building McMansions, as Boone County Judge Executive Gary Moore described them, but not 1 and 2 bedroom homes and apartments, which are exactly what the region needs most. Okay, I'm going to stop again and say I'm a real estate agent. You know, I take a little offense at not building only McMansions so that I can sell them. I'm just kidding. I think he's right. So I will say, Gary Moore has been judge executive for a long time. I think he's got a pretty good handle on this. And when you're 6,600 units short, then yeah, you probably don't just need another Triple Crown, right? Or Ballyshannon. Even though, look, I love selling those properties. If you're moving here, hit me up. I'll sell them to you. But yeah, we need apartments. We need 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Let me keep going in this study so you guys can read what's going on, because not everyone can afford a McMansion, right? I get that. That's right. 2/3 of Northern Kentucky's job growth over the next decade is expected to come from jobs earning an average annual salary below $60,000, according to the housing study. 2/3 of Northern Kentucky's job growth over the next decade is expected to come from jobs earning an average annual salary below $60,000. Those are not people that can afford McMansions, right? Those are people who need to rent, and there's a lot of growth coming in the area. As I mentioned, from previous in the show here, Chick-fil-A, L2 Aviation, Publix. But these, there's some management jobs here, but not all these jobs. A lot of these jobs being created are going to be that 60,000 and below. So compounding the problem, homeowners are staying in their homes on average 13 years, twice as long as they did in 2005. That's a direct result of high mortgage rates and scarcity of options. Retirees often want to downsize in the community where they've lived most of their lives, but local communities don't have that sort of low maintenance housing stock in abundance. Okay, I will say, as a realtor who's watching this day in and day out, that paragraph is spot on. Okay, the fact that people are staying in their home longer, and I can give an anecdotal evidence of this, of my parents who bought a Fisher home in 1988. And they looked around the last few years and they're like, we're getting up into our 70s. My knee hurts. I don't love going up to my 2-story bedroom that I built this house, raised my kids in it, but we're getting a little older. It would be nice to have a little ranch. Went out and shopped, and they're like, I don't know. Maybe we can put a bedroom down in the dining room or the study or the garage. Or maybe we can get an electric chair that goes up the stairwell. And that is a conversation that a lot of people are having, right? It's like, okay, we could sell this house, but then what are we going to do? Get a mortgage at 65 or 70 or 75 years old on this, $500,000 to $600,000 ranch home? Like, when my house is paid off or nearly paid off. So that is happening over and over and over again. I'm not saying that's everyone, but a lot of people are locked into that home because, it's paid off or it's low, and the cost, to downsize into a ranch, or the amount of, housing product that's out there that is first floor living for these people who are aging, there's not enough there. And so that keeps that inventory down low. To find a ranch home can be very challenging, or first floor living kind of home. because everyone wants that. There's a lot of retirees who are looking to downsize who want that, who are like, I grew up in this community. I grew up in Boone County or Kenton County or Alexandria or pick any other, Greater Cincinnati area, Westchester or Anderson or Mason or Blue Ash or Madeira or Marymount or whatever. So this is not just a Northern Kentucky thing. This is all over, but that paragraph is spot on. All right. Okay. Nor where we go. Here we go. Okay. Nor does building new single family communities price out as favorably as it once did. Boone County alone has 4,300 lots platted for single family homes where nothing is happening. I'm going to say that again. Boone County alone has 4,300 lots platted for single family homes where nothing is happening. Why? Construction and land costs have forced developers to try for denser designs, sending them into the buzzsaw of public comment, where restrictive zoning and building codes provide the cudgel, simple rancor does not. Okay, what does that mean? It's expensive for these builders. It's expensive for these developers to build these single family homes. We need 6,600 units. There's 4,300 units in Boone County that are platted for single family homes, and that cost, that cost to build that home raises that prices of the home, which lowers the demand of that home. You following me? And so they're going to build as much as there is demand, but the demand is for the, a less expensive home or, rental properties. That's where there's the greatest demand. There's always going to be, the demand is always spread out. And as you go up in price point, the demand is going to thin out as you go. Right. And so, then, what this article says is developers can then say, hey, let's try to build a condo or a townhome or a row house. And then they get nailed by the buzzsaw of public comment. They're like, not in my community. Don't bring that multifamily into this space. And it's like, okay. But also like we're short 6,600 units. So where would you like me to build those? So it's a tough challenge here. So this industry dies by 1,000 cuts. Talking about the building industry. Miller said at the housing event, planning commissioners are well-intentioned, he continued, but every additional berm and tree required of developers is passed on to the buyer, which reduces housing production. So let me say that again. All the costs that go into the codes for developers for building every berm and tree, so you got to build this so that you block out the multifamily, whatever. The developer, they still got to make their profit. So they're going to pass that on, right? They're going to pass that on into the price. And that reduces housing production because with the higher prices, you have less demand for that product. All right. So this is an interesting graph. We're going to look at this. And I can't get it all on one page here. I'll do my best. But just take a look at this and then I'll explain it here in a minute. 13% Kenton County, 11% Campbell, 22% Boone, Gallatin's at 12%. Carroll County at 22%. Got family down there in Carrollton. 7% Pendleton. Okay, what does this mean? 6 in Owen, 7 in Grant. So this is the housing deficit. A recent housing study of Northern Kentucky shows the region needs thousands of homes, with Boone County facing the greatest shortage. So what we're looking at here is the ratio of units needed to total households. Okay, so in Boone County, for example, the population is 141,000. You got 51,000 households. Units needed are 11,000 in Boone County. That's how you got that 22%. So 11,000 divided by 51,000 gives the greatest ratio of needed in Boone County. Okay. In Campbell County, and by the way, this might be helpful if you're looking to move here just to get an idea of population, right? So Boone County has 51,000 households. Kenton County has the most in Northern Kentucky at 69,000. And then Campbell County is 39,000. So if you look back at this map, in fact, I'll show it to you. Let me scroll out here. If you kind of look at Northern Kentucky and let me go back to this. Okay. So you got Boone County here, roughly. Kenton County is right in the middle, and Campbell County out east. So Kenton County actually has the most amount of people, and a lot of that is around Covington, these areas closer to the river. Taylor Mill, Fort Mitchell, all of Covington here, Villa Hills, Erlanger. But also Independence has been growing a ton. Boone County does have a lot of people as well, but you also have the airport, and you've got a lot of commercial space kind of in Florence. And then where you're seeing a lot of growth is, if you're just looking at this, you can see kind of the beige is where a lot of the development has happened. And the green is where like, oh, you could build here. You could build out west of Hebron, out in Boone County. You can build out west of Union, out towards Big Bone and Rabbit Hash. You could build south in Walton and Verona. And this is kind of where you're seeing it get extended. And Campbell County has the least amount of people. It's also, if you look at it from a terrain standpoint, so Kenton County and Campbell County are divided by this Licking River here. And Campbell, Kenton is pretty hilly. Campbell is very hilly. So like there's just a lot of terrain here. It makes it a little more challenging, I would say, for development. Whereas Boone, where a lot of the development has happened is if you just look at it from a terrain standpoint, and where Interstate 71 and 75 have been built in is where there's less hills, right? So a little easier to develop. So if you're going to put your bet on it, you'll see more development in this area. And that kind of plays itself out in Ohio too. Ohio gets a little bit flatter. And so you see where it's extended up 75 and 71 towards Columbus. So there you go. There's a little regional map as to development. And you can see that if you look at the map and just where everything's built out, you can kind of see that too from this standpoint. All right, let's go back into it. Where were we? Okay. So looking at this map, where you need the most housing, Boone County, 22%. Carroll County, interestingly enough, but Carroll's pretty small from a household standpoint, only 4,000. So Carroll, Gallatin, Owen, Pendleton, besides the big three of Boone, Kenton, and Campbell, Grant County has the most next populations. And again, a lot of that is as you're moving down Interstate 75, down Crittenden, Dry Ridge. And in Grant County, you've got Williamstown as well. You've got the Creation Museum. And these other counties have less population. So Owen, Grant, Gallatin, and Carroll County. But there is a bigger need in Carroll County, from a total units needed standpoint, at least percentage wise. But if you're going to put your bet down on, I guess there's multiple ways to think about this. If you're looking to move to the Northern Kentucky area, if you're thinking specifically about appreciation, you might want to keep considering the need in Kenton and Boone County and where can there be expansion. Expansion has been happening a lot in Independence. Expansion has been happening a lot in Union. I think that'll continue down into Walton. And I'm going to see more in Hebron here as well. So I think you're going to see, and there have been a ton of people moving to Union in the last several years. And I think you're going to continue to see growth into Boone County. And I think Campbell County will get there, but it's always a little bit trailing in terms of population and in terms of development. So like, for example, Publix is coming in. And, if you think about a large company like Publix that is thinking about, they're doing their market research. They're putting one in Boone. They're putting one in Kenton. They're putting one in Campbell. Actually, they're putting two in Boone. So there's another good indicator, right? They're putting one down by Union, Triple Crown, and they're putting one up in Hebron. So that's, I forget where the fifth one is. If someone lets me know in the chat, I'd love to hear that. Oh my goodness. I've got 7 comments on here and I had them hidden. Let's take a minute. Pro Golfer, what's up? Hey, earlier, you did a video that talked about Zillow predicting Cincinnati was going to be one of the top appreciating markets in its 24. How do you think that turned out? I think it turned out from a speed standpoint. It's still there. From an appreciation standpoint, I don't know. I wouldn't say we were one of the top appreciating markets in the nation. So I would say Zillow, from an inventory standpoint, we are still right there in terms of days on market nationally. From an appreciation standpoint, we don't have like tons of growth. Again, like I mentioned Nashville earlier. And so we still had solid growth this year. We had around 5% appreciation, but I wouldn't say it was like top for the year. Alex, what's up? So would you prefer the Bengals to get into the playoffs or play for draft position? Playoffs. No question for me, because what's the difference between a draft pick at number like 12 or 19 or even 8 or 9, like whatever? It's going to be a good player. I would way much prefer playoffs than draft pick. No question, hands down, 100%. I want to see Joe and Jamar and T, and who knows, maybe Orlando Brown gets back. I mean, this offense looks great. The defense is good against bad quarterbacks, and so they're okay against bad quarterbacks. We're very bad against good quarterbacks. But definitely, I want playoffs. What up, Luke, farm boy? Member of the Sztanyo Clanyo here. What's up? Love it. You should run for mayor. Yeah, we'll see. One day. I don't know. I'm just raising my kids, doing my best. Love your videos. Thank you. Appreciate that. Love the Tecmo Bowl shirt. Let's go. I don't know. Can you guys see this? So it says deep threat. And get my deep threat ability 100, possessions 100, red zone 100, agility 100, pregame fit 100, and celebrations 100. Overall, gritty. Love it. Jamar, let's get that triple crown, yo. Okay. All right. So there's sorry, I had the comment sections hidden for some reason. So apologize to you guys for not getting to you earlier. All right, let's get back into this map. So, yeah, if you're gonna roll the dice and look for where growth is gonna happen, definitely in Boone. Okay, Boone, 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 Boone. So let's keep going to here. So with fewer new builds, buyers in 2023 flooded into existing homes. The supply, which is fixed, so prices naturally skyrocketed, and uncounted local families were pushed to the sidelines. The result, even today, is a housing market snared in an encumbering Ouroboros, where the next generation can't buy because the former can't sell, and the CEO has trouble hiring because there's little income-aligned housing with a reasonable driving radius, 20 minutes by some accounts. What an interesting, first of all, congratulations on using the word Ouroboros. Maybe Ouroboro? Joe Burrow? But this is interesting, the housing, I like economics. I don't know if you guys like economics, but I think, from a city planning standpoint, from a regional growth standpoint, I am pretty fascinated about this. I've never had any formal training on it. I'd like in the future here to get in on some of these meetings and interview these people and their thought process, because I think it's pretty fascinating. But those local economics, they matter so much. And so this is an interesting statement of like, okay, the next generation can't buy because it's too expensive. The former generation can't sell because it's too expensive. And the CEO or whoever, the HR department, they can't hire because there's no housing for these $60,000 jobs. And that just stalls the growth, right? So if you don't have the housing that's affordable for these jobs, then the businesses can't grow. How it's all intertwined, right? I think it's very interesting. There isn't any debate in the business community that this is a top issue, said Brent Cooper, president of and CEO of the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. Lack of affordability and the missing middle are holding our region back. That's interesting. That missing middle quote, well, I guess that's kind of a national phrase, but what they mean in that missing middle is like not affordable housing, not the McMansions, but like these row houses, the things that Cincinnati's trying to do with their connected communities, that missing middle. How do you get more of that? If you can do that, that's affordable, you're going to attract more talent. So he goes on to say, that's an undisputed in all the conversations we're having. The alarm bells are ringing far and wide. Florence Mayor Julie Metzger, Aubuchon, sorry, don't know how to say that, said never in her decades of public service has she seen this level of concern about a single topic from so many organizations. Wendy Smith, Deputy Executive Director of Housing Programs for the Kentucky Housing Corporation, noted it's the first time homeless shelters and real estate developers are talking the same language about the same problem. Wow. That's interesting. People are ready to have these conversations. Colton Simpson, Deputy Judge Executive, Grant County, said. All right. So what's the solution? Housing options aplenty, not one size fits all. Recommendations intended to close the region's housing gap are due out in late December, so I'll be keeping an eye on this, from working groups assembled by the Northern Kentucky Area Development District, drawing from the housing study's findings. The idea, according to multiple officials, is to offer a menu of options for communities to consider. density bonuses, for example, or a housing bond fund. Okay, interesting. I like menus. So they're trying to spur on this this growth of density. Okay. This is a collective effort. It's not a one size fits all, Moore said. Each community has an individual tolerance for different options. What works for one isn't right for another. Boone County is ground zero for both problem and solution. So going back to that map that we just mentioned, it's the fastest growing county in the Commonwealth with a 4.4% population growth since 2020, thanks to flat land. Look at this. I didn't even read this article. And do I know what I'm talking about? I just showed you a map on terrain. Okay. Pat my back. We're blurry here. Pat my back a little bit, okay? Because I told you about the terrain. Look at that. Okay, that's enough bragging. Where was I? Thanks to Flatland and the jobs hub around Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Airport. It also has the largest current deficit of housing units as a share of total inventory, according to the Kentucky Housing Corp. The county right now needs to build 11,350 homes and apartments to accommodate current demand. Its record on dense housing developments remains mixed. The county touts a pipeline of multifamily units in the thousands, but the Boone County Fiscal Court has rejected at least 3 large-scale apartment projects in the last year. The most recent rejection occurred at a meeting November 19th. A local developer wanted to build 139 attached single-family homes and 157 multifamily units in 3-story buildings on 44 acres off of Holbrook Lane in Florence, a mile south of CVG. The land is currently zoned for around 91 single-family homes. The Boone County Planning Commission, believing it should stay that way, voted 13-0 against recommending the development plan. Interesting. Pat Munger, a spokesperson for the developer, raised a last gasp defense before the fiscal court. It would be a community of empty nesters, not your traditional high-rise development. It would be spread out and provide the peace and quiet of a real neighborhood with sidewalks. Munger gestured at last to the housing need as outlined in studies and reports. Demand is strong, he said. Notice a similar development nearby is completely full. We're just trying to fill that gap and provide opportunities for a diverse housing product and availability for this part of the country. The argument fell on deaf ears. Nearby homeowners had fretted over the project for months, drawing rare local TV news coverage in the run-up. Now Munger spoke in vain, his words arrested and rude, stubborn, and full of opinions. After he sat, several residents rose to testify. Now is where it gets juicy. My acreage is going to become a rental community's backyard, said one speaker. I think it's a severe risk to my property and my property rights to have to worry about the high risk of liability with people back there. I know tenants are a revolving door. Okay. I know I'm doing a different voice. I'm not trying to disparage this one speaker. I'm just trying to give a little light to this meeting, right? Can you picture yourself there? The fiscal, and by the way, I mean, that's a legit argument, right? If you owned a home, would you want 300 units going up in your backyard? No, the answer is no. I get that 100% if you're a homeowner. It's a hard, it's a hard argument either way. That's why I'm curious your guys' thoughts in the chat. Develop, growth or like not growth, right? And like keeping it the same. It's an interesting challenge for leaders and for residents alike. And so I get both sides of the argument. Let's keep going here. But there's definitely the need. So the fiscal court voted 3-0 to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation, burying the proposal that appeared already dead. 20 minutes later, the commissioners breezed through the first reading of a zoning change for a 312-unit multifamily development on Dixie Highway near Richwood, so that's Boone County, a 20-minute drive from CVG. Units will be leased to households making 60% of the area median income, teachers, firefighters, nurses, and police officers, according to the developer. The fiscal court approved the zoning change at its meeting December 3rd without a torch or pitchfork in sight. The project is almost entirely surrounded by industrial uses. So, what does that say? Like, push out the multifamily further out. I don't want it in my backyard by my single family houses. Go put it in by all the industrial space. So, Dixie Highway near Richwood, you're looking at Dixie Highway's right here. Richwood is down here. And, down Richwood, you have some industrial space here. I wonder if that's even potentially, it's probably not right off the interstate. And then you've got a lot of industrial over here off of Dixie Highway as well. And I get it. So you can put, you can put those units in there and they're further out and they're not going to bother your backyard of your home, but they're also not going to attract the talent that we need to the area. Right. And so, there's some, pros and cons here. Moore said the planning commission and the county commissioners, this is Judge Gary Moore, by the way, went to school with his daughter back in the day. Moore said the planning commission and the county commissioners evaluate each project individually rather than through the lens of any countywide need for housing. He pointed to traffic as a common source of public pushback. There are portions of the county that can only develop once the infrastructure is expanded, he said. Had Holbrook Road already been built out to Camp Ernst Road, State Route 237, for example, that project might have advanced. The connection doesn't exist today. I know he's been working on roads for a long time in Boone County. Large road projects that would accommodate new developments are almost always state-sponsored. Mineola Pike, for example. Boone County can help itself on that front by more clearly demonstrating the nexus between roads and income-aligned housing. Moore pointed to the county's new comprehensive plan as an opportunity to do just that. All Kentucky counties are required to update their comprehensive plans every 5 years. The plans outline overarching visions for land use in certain areas as opposed to zoning codes, which bind property owners to a set of regulations. They're nonetheless instrumental. So you can go look these up, by the way, right now. You can look up all of these comprehensive plans in Boone County, Kenton, and Campbell. They're instrumental. The Boone County Planning Commission relied heavily on the most recent comprehensive plan's single-family designation for the Holbrook Lane site in arguing against development. Kenton County updated its comprehensive plan earlier this year, leaving much unchanged, but adding new emphasis on housing. Campbell and Boone counties are in the process of updating their comprehensive plans now. Still, the region cities get final say when it comes to adoption of the comprehensive plans, as well as the approval of individual developments within their limits. Whatever guidepost the Campbell County Planning Commission may set to remedy the housing gap, cities may be loath to comply. The city of Fort Thomas, for example, overhauled its zoning code earlier this year, in part to reducing building heights in its commercial districts. Citizens were vocal about not increasing residential density, according to Matthew Kramer, city administrator. They did not want any new apartments, condos, or multifamily allowed, Kramer said. Yeah. So, as a resident, you get a lot of say here, but how do you fill the need? The Boone County Planning Commission is expected to thread the lessons of projects recently approved and denied into its work on a new comprehensive plan, tying transportation connections and adjoining property characteristics into the decision matrix for the first time. So Gary Moore is going to try to get those roads in there to say, hey, if we would have had these roads in place, we probably could have got the multifamily passed already, but we didn't. So it got pushed out. Whether doing so adjusts the tolerance of local residents and planning commissioners to new housing projects appeals to depend, as ever, on the particulars. Housing is an issue everywhere. Moore said, we're not isolated on this or the workforce challenges. We're trying to send the signal out that we're looking for solutions. So, we need solutions because this is an issue. Housing is an issue. I find it interesting, and I get it. If you're a resident, you potentially don't want multifamily, or you want to make sure the roads and the parking is there so that traffic doesn't get too crazy. It's a good debate back and forth. Curious your guys' thoughts, but just wanted to share, wanted to give you this overview of what's going on here. And look, Northern Kentucky continues to grow. It's affordable. Chick-fil-A, this is going to be more. There's going to be more of this, right? There's going to be more large millions of dollars of investments and jobs coming into the area. And so the housing needs to get fixed, right? All right. There we go. I think that wraps it up on in terms of what's going on here in Northern Kentucky and some of this news. There's a lot of news this week. Sorry I didn't get into everything, but I thought this was kind of an interesting theme. And well done, Brian Planout. I should meet this guy. Really good article. So, what effect will this have on single-family homes? Remains to be seen. But I think, if you own a single-family home, will it decrease prices? No, I think great question, Luke. Thank you for asking. This is why it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? I understand why homeowners don't want multifamily and or apartments, or they don't want their area going more to renters who might not take care of the property as much. However, that point, I think the key line in that article was the fact that he said CEOs can't hire. In order to build businesses and have growth that brings in the higher paying jobs as well, and more people. I mean, again, I'm not a smart man, okay, but basic supply and demand is maybe the easiest thing to think about when it comes to your housing prices. And if the city grows, if there's more people, if the economy is growing and more people come in, and then demand grows, and when demand grows, prices go up. And so and the supply is trying to meet that demand. And so if you're thinking about it from a single family owner in terms of appreciation, let's use Nashville for example again. I know a lot of people. I went to college in Nashville, so I know the city pretty well. I know some people who still live down there, and a lot of people have said it's changed a lot in the last 20 years in terms of people growing in. They're like, we don't like that. We miss our old Nashville. We can go down to Broadway and there's not 10 billion bridesmaids. And at the same time, their property values all their houses appreciated 5 times. And so, or, whatever it was, a ton of appreciation. And so if you see a boom like that economically, whether it's Nashville or Austin or Phoenix or Orlando or whatever city, it doesn't matter. That's when you see house prices go up a lot because that demand is there. And when you see a bust economically, think of Detroit in the past as a great example. Detroit was the richest city in America and maybe the world at that point. There was so much wealth in Detroit, back in the heyday of Motown, right? With the automotive industry. And then poof, it all disappeared, and instantly property values plummeted, right? And so housing, and your home prices, as you think about this, and as you think, this is a great reason to get involved and think through this, but you want the community to grow for everyone, but you want to make sure it's not just McMansions. You want to make sure there are housing for a different scale of people on the different, economic scale. I said scale twice there. Sorry. All right. My words are failing me. See, told you. My words are failing me. I think it's time to go home and help my wife get the kids to bed, and do other things. So who are we rooting for tonight, Bengals fans? Do we want the Broncos or the Colts to win? I thought I saw something on Channel 19 where we want, I can't remember. I think we need multiple win. I think we wanted the Broncos maybe to win this one, but they would still have to lose another one, and we have to win out. I don't know which one's better for us, Broncos or Colts, but all I know is I like watching Joe Burrow play. He's really, really, really good. I like watching Jamar Chase play. You know what? I really like watching T. Higgins play too. And I really, really like seeing that Joe is saying that we need T. And I really, really, really like seeing T drop his agent and go with Jamar's agent. And I think we might have something special here. If we can lock these guys up, that's a lot of money going to those guys. But hey, I don't know. A crazy, awesome offense that just scores all the time, I think is more entertaining. And then you just hope that your defense just doesn't suck completely all the time. So you know what you have in T. Lock them up. Lock up this great offense. Chase Brown's obviously rising. You got your tackles. Just got to fix the guard. Lock it up on offense. And then go try to fix some of the pieces on defense. Keep drafting there. Keep getting them. Maybe you'll get a Miles Murphy to hit. A Dax Hill might come back and give you something. Jordan Battle looks like he's a lot better than old, slow, busted Von Bell. Geno Stone's getting these late year picks. Get a corner. Get rid of Pratt. Get rid of Von Bell. Geno Stone's probably going to stick now, which is hilarious. Get a safety. Get a legit another safety, I guess. Well, I don't know. What do you do there? I don't know. Talking roster dynamics here. But anyway, guys, Sztanyo. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you are looking to move to the area, would love to help you out. Obviously, reach out to us at info@teamsztanyo.com. Leave a comment below. Actually, email us or text 513-813-6293 or call that number, and we'll help you out here, guys. So appreciate it. Hope you have a great Sunday. I am super enjoying this Advent season, and I hope you guys are too, leading up to Christmas. It is a great time of year. If you can block out, in my opinion, if you can block out the commercialism of the season and focus in on Advent, it takes, you got to constantly like push out the noise and just like breathe in the good. So we're doing that with my family, and I love it. In our church, it's a good time. Love this time of year, remembering this story. So guys, thank you so much. Have a great week, and we will talk to you later.